Hello guys, my name is Caesar and welcome to HD Tutorials, a channel where I'm going to upload videos and series about my guidance on different tasks that I have experience with so that other people can benefit from it. And welcome to the Endless ATC course again. Yes, again. This is the fourth and last installment. This is the advanced level. And I really need to apologize that there were some of you that were waiting for this video specifically, and I know that it's been more than 8 months and I was working for different projects, so that's why I didn't have the time to make another video, so I apologize for this. But this is not only bad news, because after this course, after this last installment, I'm going to upload videos regularly about beautiful sequences that I do, different challenges that I take. And if you really want to practice with me, and if you really want to give me a specific challenge, I'm more happy to take it, and I'm going to give you the best content here. Also, I'm going to upload different series about other topics, but that doesn't mean that I cannot continue uploading about this topic, about Endless ATC. So, if you really like this type of content, hit the subscribe button so you can have it more frequently and you can get a notification for that. And the last thing that I need to say before going ahead with the video, again, I need to emphasize this because it's very important. If you really enjoy this game and you would like to create different scenarios, you would like to enjoy from different views, you would like to control in different airspaces, then definitely you need the pro version. So I think it's completely worth it. It's maybe £5, €5, $5, and you can find it in Windows, you can find it in Android. So you have a lot of more flexibility and you can customize your own airspaces. I'm going to talk about this in the next videos. But yeah, it's completely worth it. And I think that in order to create the scenarios that I create in this course, it's very important that you have the pro version. Thank you very much for the attention. I hope that you enjoyed the video and you stay until the end. And let's go ahead with content. Before going ahead with the content, I would like to remind you that this is the advanced level. That means that I will already assume that you have the knowledge, the concepts, and all the strategies that I explained in the previous videos, and you have them already interiorized. And I will also assume that you already have the required control skills for this level. So if this is your first video watching the whole series, this is your first video that you come across, or even if it's not your first video but you missed some of the previous videos, depending on your level, I recommend you to go ahead and watch the beginner level. And the beginner level, I will explain you the most basic concepts, and then I created a scenario for you in Yankee Sierra Sierra Yankee. Once you have done that, then go ahead and watch the elementary level. In the elementary level, I explain more intermediate concepts, and also I explain more intermediate controlling skills and sequencing skills. And once you have done that and practicing Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot, go ahead and watch the intermediate level, where I'm going to teach the most advanced controlling skills and concepts. And once you have done all of that, then in my opinion, you will be completely prepared for this level. But again, as I say in the previous videos, for me, your time is the most important thing. If you really think that you're prepared for this level, then go ahead and continue with the video, but I still recommend to watch those videos before. So about the advanced level, you can see that it's more simplified, because, let me clarify, in this level, I'm not going to teach controlling skills, because you should already have those skills from the previous installments. Especially the intermediate level, because the intermediate level I gave you the most advanced controlling skills. So in this advanced level, I'm going to focus on sectors that have multiple airports and sectors where there is extra difficulty, so you need to bear certain things in mind. So in this advanced level, I'm going to touch sectorization, traffic, capacity, and especially standard procedures. Standard procedures are the most important thing here, because when you have a large airspace with multiple airports, what you need to achieve is regularity, because the least that you improvise, the better the sequences are going to be. Therefore, standard procedures will be the most important section of this advanced level. And then I'm going to finish with phraseology, because phraseology will help you to identify aircrafts within the airspace, and also I will give you some guidance, so in case that you want to practice how it would be to be on the radar, then phraseology is going to help you. Let's go ahead, and if you really enjoy the video, hit the like button, because this is how YouTube will understand that you like the video. So let's go ahead and let's start with sectorization. So sectorization, why is very important? Because in large airspace, where you have multiple airports, there are specific areas where you need to focus on certain things, because every piece of airspace is very particular to the geographical area that it is, and also the amount of traffic that is going to deal. But for the traffic, I'm going to explain it later. So what about sectorization? You can divide the airspace vertically and horizontally. The most simple one is vertically, because the vertical division of an airspace, it helps you especially when it has to do with the time of the flight. If you watch the elementary level, I explained you there the phases of the flight. You have the takeoff, you have the departure, you have the in-flight, you have the arrival, and you have the approach. So depending on the phase of the flight that you're going to be, you're going to design the airspace that is going to optimize those procedures. So let's do it the simple way. So this is the whole airspace that you have, and then you're going to divide it in 3 volumes. The first volume is going to be the tower, because it's going to be from the ground level to the 2,000 feet, and this is going to allow the planes to land and to take off safely. And the most important one, and you're going to understand why, for Endless ATC is going to be the approach airspace, which is going to be designed to make the departures and arrivals quite safe. That is going to be approximately from 2,000 feet to flight level 100. And the reason is because in Endless ATC we are optimizing departures and arrivals. So in this airspace, the focus is going to be on planes that are already departing from the airport, that already took off, and the arrivals that are arriving from the different initial approach fixes. But also we need to acknowledge the other volume, which is the control volume, which is going to go from flight level 100 to the vertical limit, the maximum vertical limit. So as I told you before, in Endless ATC, we're going to be dealing with the approach sector, the approach volume. Alright? So we're going to focus on airspace that is between 2,000 feet and flight level 100. And now, this is the most difficult part, which is to divide the airspace horizontally. So as I was telling you before, we're going to focus on the approach sector, but let's view how we can divide the airspace in different volumes. So in this case, the upper airspace, the control airspace, we can do different things. So here you have the London sector in the LSATC. So we can do, for example, a single division, which means all the airspace pertains to the same volume. And we would call it, for example, London control. Alright? We can do the same thing, but a division of 2. In this case, the north-south division, which means that we're going to separate all the sector in 2, and we're going to have them as London North Control and London South Control. We can do the same with the west and east. So, as you can see, the same example, but west and east. We can do even, depending on the relevance and the proximity of the airports, we can do a non-symmetrical approach. For example, we can consider London Control everything that has to do with the immediate proximity of the airports, and then everything that is not very close to the airports, we can call it outer control or any other name. But as you could see, we can divide the airspace horizontally according to the needs of the airspace. So how we can divide the approach airspace, and this is going to be the most relevant side because we're going to be dealing with this in the ATC. So you here have again the London airspace, but we need to focus from 2,000 feet to flight level 100. We can do the same thing as with the control airspace. We can do a single division, but because it's approach, it's going to be a smaller area, of course. But the single division will be called London approach, and it's going to be dealing with all the airports. We can do the zonal division, which is more specified depending on the needs of the specific airport. So we can call it London approach to the two main airports, which are Heathrow and London City. We can call Luton approach the one that is above, and it's going to focus on Luton. And then we can call Gatwick approach to the airport that is down, it's in the south. And we're going to call Gatwick approach, Gatwick director, Gatwick radar, however you want to call it. Or we can have another approach, which is multiple volumes. So everything is going to be considered London approach, but from certain altitudes is going to be considered, for example, Luton approach or Gatwick approach. And this is going to help us to be more organized and to have a better coordination between the different controllers. And just to have a quick look with the tower controller and the lower airspace, sorry for this, it's going to be the lower airspace. Here we can just focus on the airports. So you can call Heathrow Tower, City Tower, Luton Tower, and Gatwick Tower. Again, we're not going to focus on the tower airspaces, we're going to focus on the approach airspaces. What about traffic and capacity? These things are the most, if not the most, one of the most important things in the Endless ATC, because yes, this game is built so that you have a limited amount of traffic and you can customize the amount of traffic that you're receiving. But is this true? No, it's not true. It's not how is it done in real life, because the airspace is limited. There is a limited amount of traffic that can circulate in a specific airspace at the same time. And also, the airports, they have a maximum capacity. The human beings, we have a maximum capacity. So we're going to touch these topics now. First thing that I want to focus on is demand. So demand is basically how many people want to fly to a specific city, and therefore the airspace is created in order to satisfy that need. So in larger cities, of course, more flights will go, and to smaller cities, less flights will go. As you can see, in the bigger cities, you have more demand for flights. Therefore, you need to have more complex airspaces, and the standard procedures that you're going to create for those airports is going to be more detailed. It's going to be more millimetrically designed to ensure the security, order, and efficiency. And to those small cities, if they have any airport at all, you will have less demand for flights. So let's talk about airport capacity. So airport capacity, you have a lot of capacities, but we're going to focus on the capacity for movements in the runway, because it's the one who is going to be relevant in the ATC. So what is high intensity runway operations? So the runway is there to be exploited for the maximum takeoffs and landings that are possible to make in a single day. Like this, we're going to satisfy the demand of the city, and in case that we need to expand the airport because the current capacity we have is not enough, then we need extra runways in order to have extra capacity. So how we're going to calculate the capacity of movements in the runway of an airport? So let's do this. Let's consider the maximum traffic flow, which is the number of possible takeoffs or landings, called movements, that can be safely performed at maximum movement efficiency. That means bearing in mind that the weather conditions are the best, and bearing in mind that the procedures of the airport are designed to be the most efficient possible. So this is the maximum traffic flow. The maximum traffic flow is approximately 35 movements per hour and per runway. It could be more, it could be less, but approximately 35. Therefore, you know that the maximum capacity of an airport that has one runway, for example here, you have the Echo Golf Lima Lima, the London airspace, you have 4 airports. But in one airport, which is Heathrow, you have 2 runways. Therefore, you can see that Heathrow has a capacity of 70 movements per hour, and the rest of the airports, they have 35 movements per hour. In comparison with the real-life operations, you're going to be controlling all the airports. Therefore, you need to bear in mind your human capacity, which is your maximum monitoring capacity. So what is the maximum traffic simultaneous monitoring? And what I mean is in the departure and approach phase. So let's imagine that you are speaking on the radio. You're giving instructions on the radio and you're receiving transmissions also by the radio. In that case, it would be approximately 15 to 20 traffics at the same time. So this is the average a human being can deal at the same time. And we're going to focus on the data link radio communication, because in Endless ATC, most probably you're going to be receiving transmissions by radio, but you're going to give the instructions by any computer system, which in this case is the Endless ATC game. In that case, the average traffic that a single person can handle at the same time is going to be from 25 to 30 traffics at the same time. If you try to get more than those, trust me, you're going to have a lot of chaos in the airspace. You're not going to be able to deal with it. So yes, Endless ATC is to have the maximum flow and the maximum amount of traffic that is unlimited, but you need to put some boundaries, because otherwise it's going to be too much for you. So what is the maximum traffic flow management? Which is approximately, and I calculated it in different situations, is approximately 2 times the maximum traffic simultaneous monitoring. That means that this is the range that I recommend you. When you go ahead and you select the flow that you want, I recommend you to put between 50 and 60 movements per hour. Because if you do less, you're going to be bored in the game. If you put more, you're going to be overwhelmed. Trust me, this is the maximum amount of movements per hour that a human being can handle in this kind of situations. So let's go with the most important part, standard procedures. Standard procedures are designed so that you don't need to improvise in any situation. The least that you improvise with procedures from the time that the traffics arrive and they contact you for the first time, and also from the time that they depart and they contact you for the first time, to the time that they arrive to the desired point. If you needed to improvise every time, it would be a chaos. You wouldn't have any system. So the best approach for this is to create standard procedures. And you have different standard procedures. You have the standard instrument departures, you have the standard arrivals, you have, in consideration, the minimum radar vectoring altitudes. So we're going to pay attention to all those things now. So the first thing that you need to do is to think about an efficient sectorization. You need to have a mental map of where the airports are and where the areas are critical for those said airports. So as you can see here in the London sector, in the main configuration, which is the main airport, Heathrow, that has arrivals by runway 27 left and departures by runway 27 right, and then in London City you have departures by runway 27, Gatwick 26 and Luton 26 as well. In this case, it's very important to have a mental map. So where are the minimum radar vectoring altitudes? Remember, if you go to the elementary level, you're going to understand more about this topic. So here are the minimum radar vectoring altitudes, if they are simplified. You have basically a flight level 035 in over Luton, flight level 025, which is 2,500 feet, over Heathrow in London City, and also the same over Gatwick. Therefore, you need to create a better understanding of what is going to be your considered minimum radar vectoring altitude. The one is the real MRVA, and the other one is the one that you will have for yourself to have it more clear, to not to need to improvise all the time. So this is my approach. Of course, you can do it the way that it suits you best, but this is my approach. In this case, as you can see, here you have 035. So everything that is here, I will consider it 040. Everything that is here, I will consider it 020, because I want to give room for the planes here to join the ILS. So that's why I consider 020, especially for the secondary airports. And then everything that is above here, I'm going to consider it a minimum of 030. And like this, I don't need to think about where the minimum radar vector in altitude is, because I already have a mental map of where every sector is. And like this is going to be more simpler. Also, and you're going to do this with experience, you need to identify the departure patterns. Here you have a bit of help because you have the fixes, alright? So, of course, all the departures will go towards those points, but you need to observe the tendencies, and that I did it in this configuration, and I recognize these departures. So, normally, the planes going from Heathrow, they depart to initial altitude 3,000 feet, and they go towards these points, alright? So these are the departures that I analyze, and also for the other secondary airports. Note here that here, the outbound from London City, so the departures from London City, they tend to go to 3,000 feet. Therefore, there is a potential conflict of traffics going and departing this way, because it can create a conflict with the traffics that are already established on the ILS. So I suggest you, if you use this configuration, to be careful from the departures from London City, and if you identify that they are going this way, I suggest you to remove the instruction to the SID, to let them to climb a bit, and then when they are clear of traffic, then you can give them an instruction to the SID again. So this is what you need to analyze. And when you see the departure patterns, you can see the potential places of conflict, especially if you match them with the arrival patterns. Again, with experience, I recognize these patterns, and I concluded that for this configuration in the London airspace is going to be like this. For the arrivals to Heathrow, there are 4 main entry points. This one, where the traffics are going to Lambourne, here they are going to Big, here they're going to Oakham, and here they're going to Bravo November. The same goes for London City, these are the patterns. Then for Gatwick here, and then for Luton like this. Those are the patterns. So when I recognize the patterns and I match them with the departure patterns, I can recognize the conflicting areas, because here is where the arrivals and departures are crossing each other. Here are the conflicting areas. In red, they are the most conflicting areas. In orange is a conflicting area that can be sorted out very easily, and the yellow one is a one that you need to just be careful, right? And I'm going to explain why. So about the red areas, this is the area of Bravo November, because here you have the arrivals to Gatwick, here you have the arrivals to London City, the arrivals to Heathrow, and the arrivals to Gatwick as well. Other traffics that are coming from here, and they have the arrivals to Luton. Therefore, this VOR, Bravo November, is a very conflicting area. And also you have the departures from Luton that are climbing to 4,000 feet, if I'm not wrong. And then you have the departures from Heathrow that are going this way. So that's why this is a very conflicting area, and you should have it clear what to do in case that you have few traffics going towards this point. Here is a very conflicting area, because usually here you have the sequences for Heathrow, you have the arrivals to Heathrow, you have the arrivals to Gatwick possibly, and you have also the arrivals to Luton that are coming from here. And also you have the departures from Heathrow, you have the departures from London City, and you have the departures from Luton. And if it was just that, here you have the complication that the departures that are coming from London City can be conflicted with the sequences here that are usually going to be descended to 4,000 feet. So that's why you need to be extra careful here. And also because here you have a holding pattern. So in case that you have traffics holding here in Lambourne, you need to be careful with the traffics that are holding. That's why this area is a very conflicting area, and you should have clear what to do where traffics are crossing each other. Then here is an area to watch out, just because the traffics are departing and they're climbing to 3,000 feet. So if you have traffics here at 3,000 feet, it could be a potential conflict. This is a very conflicting area, because you have departures from London City, even if they are rare. You have the arrivals to London City, you have the arrivals to Gatwick. Sorry, you don't have the arrivals to Gatwick. Here you have the arrivals to maybe London City. Here you have the sequences that you make from here to Heathrow. You have the departures from Gatwick. You have the arrivals to Heathrow from here. And in case that you have traffic holding here as well, you need to be extra careful with traffic that you cross. Therefore, this is a very conflicting area. This is a conflicting area, but it's not that much as the others, because usually it's just departures that are coming from Heathrow or from Gatwick, but they are already very high in the flight level. And the only thing is that they are conflicting with the arrivals that they are coming here to London City or even Heathrow. But again, it can be solved very quickly. And this is an area that you should just watch in case that you bring in traffic to Brown November directly. Here you have a lot of traffic departing from Heathrow. Therefore, you need to watch out for this. So, after analyzing all this, I have concluded that the best way to deal with these arrivals and departures is the following way. With departures is very easy, because after some experience I concluded that the departures are very easy. Generally speaking, departures won't create any conflict themselves. This is how it is. Because the initial altitude is going to be already considered when you give descent to traffic that are arriving. So if traffics are climbing to 6,000 feet, you know that the minimum altitude that you can descend is to 7,000 feet, to flight level 070. So therefore, departures won't create any conflict themselves if you bear in mind the initial altitudes. But you need to be careful when you're authorizing further climbs greater than the initial climb, because in that case you're crossing the 1,000 feet separation that is protocol area. Yeah. So be careful when authorizing further climbs more than the initial climb. But yeah, you can hand off that HO button that you see in the game. You can hand off a traffic below 100 flight level 100 if they are clear of traffic. Because what's the point of waiting so that they climb farther than flight level 100 if you can just get rid of the traffic in the moment? If they're not, if they don't have any traffic around, you can just hand off and send it to control or send it to tower, and that's it. Like this, you have less traffic to deal with. And then, generally speaking, you don't need to ask the traffic to expedite the climb. You can see that in the videos I do it quite much, but you, generally speaking, don't need to do that. But with arrivals, it's very important to have some standards, because traffics that are crossing each other are very dangerous. Therefore, there is a method that is used in real life. More is more used in center in-flight procedures, not that much in approach procedures and arrivals procedures, but in Endless ATC we can use it, because it's going to help us when we have all the airspace crowded, which is the West-East system. In the West-East system, any traffic that is going from heading 360 to heading 179 is going to be given an odd level, therefore 030, 050, and so on. And any traffic that is flying from heading 180 to heading 359 is going to be given an even level, which is 020, 040, and so on. But I guess in the London airspace is even more beneficial to do the north-south system, which is the same thing but different headings. From heading 270 to 089 even, and from heading 090 to 269, then it's going to be odd level. In the London sector is going to be more beneficial, because traffics are generally going north or they're going south. So how can you apply that to the London airspace? You're going to reserve the flight level 020, 030, and 040 for sequencing. So therefore the planes that are just flying, they are getting closer to the airport and they are not being sequenced. They are not going to enter never in conflict. Therefore, you have only some levels available for the traffics that are just getting closer to the airport. So the traffics that are going north, will be given 060, 080, and 100. And the traffic that are going south, they are going to be given 050, 070, and 090, depending on the needs of the specific area of the airspace. So applying this, how I designed the arrival procedures. For Heathrow, I concluded that the best way to do this is to descend the traffic here to 050. Bear in mind that here the departures are to 4,000 feet. Then from Brown November to start sequencing them towards Lambourne. And then this is the altitude, this is the flight level that I want to achieve in the end. 040, because here the traffics that are coming from the south, they are going to be sequenced at 030, therefore I can start putting them like this. If the traffics arrive from here, I can deviate them a bit, flying to 050, and then from here start sequencing them towards the 040. And here is the same concept. Here, I decided to even use the 040 level, because here, generally speaking, you have a lot of departures. And the departures from Heathrow, they are going to 6,000 feet. So if I use the 6,000 feet level, there is a potential conflict if I didn't instruct any traffic to climb further. That's why I use the 040 and then the 080 level. And then from here to start sequencing them to achieve the altitude of 3,000 feet. I did the same approach with the rest of the airports, and I concluded that this is the best approach for London City. This is the best approach for Gatwick. And this is the best approach for Luton. Again, with experience about all the arrival patterns, you will find solutions for yourself. But yeah, this is how you create standard procedures, because then you won't need to improvise all the time. Again, I would remind that this area, for example here, is very conflicting if there is a departure from London City, because here you're sequencing traffic to Heathrow. Here you have traffic established at 3,000 feet and 4,000 feet, so there is a potential conflict here. So be careful with the departures from London City in this configuration. And here, again, the BNN, the Brown November sector, here is very dangerous because you have departures from departures from Luton, you have departures from Heathrow, you have arrivals to London City, to Heathrow, and you have here also arrivals to Gatwick and London City. And also you have arrivals here to Luton, so this could be a potential conflict area. So to finish, let's focus on phraseology now. Phraseology is going to help you to understand what the traffics are telling you. And let's go with the basics. How do you spell call signs? How do you call names? Not in the wrong sense. So you better learn this international radiophonic alphabet, which means you don't say A, B, C, D, because in the radio it can be misinterpreted. The C can be misinterpreted with T, okay? And for example, the T could be misrepresented with D. Therefore, it's a better approach to say Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, and so on. So you better learn this radiophonic alphabet. And for the numbers are spelled one by one. And the 9, in this case, instead of saying 9, you say niner. Alright? But yes, you better learn this radiophonic alphabet. It's going to help you. So how do you spell the call sign? How do you call a plane? Okay? So if it's an airline, usually they have their own call sign, which you don't need to spell it. But the structure of the call sign usually has 3 letters and some numbers. It can be 1 number, 2 numbers, 3 numbers, but you have some digits. So it's 3 letters and some digits. Alright? So in this case, with experience, you will learn to recognize the 3-letter ICAO designator for the airline. So in this case, for example, British Airways, you're going to see it as Bravo Alpha Whiskey. Iberia, you're going to see it as India Bravo Echo. And American Airlines, you're going to see it as Alpha Alpha Lima. But bear in mind that sometimes the call sign is not British Airways, for example, it's Speedbird. So in this case, if you see Bravo Alpha Whiskey, you don't need to say Bravo Alpha Whiskey, you can say Speedbird, because it's the call sign that is assigned to the airline. So if you see India Bravo Echo, you don't need to say India Bravo Echo, you can say Iberia, because it's understood that it's the airline. And the same for American Airlines, you can say American. So the next thing is the numbers. The numbers are spelled one by one. So you cannot say 27, 31, you cannot say 66. You say 1, 2, 3, 6, 2, 7. Alright? So if we practice here, we can say Iberia, because it's the designator for the airline. Iberia 1, 2, 3. Here is not an airline, so you can say Golf Bravo 26 Tango Alpha. Here you can say Vueling 39er Alpha. Here, if you're playing X-Plane, you will recognize this registration. It's the famous Cessna 172, but it's the November 172 Sierra Papa. Here is very important, because if you see a triple repetition of numbers, you don't say 111, you say 111. So in this case, it would be Turkish 111. Here is not an airline, so you can say Echo Charlie Tango Echo Romeo. Here you can say Speedbird 347. Here you can say Delta Charlie Whiskey Sierra Victor. And here you can say American 101 Romeo. Again, you can say the call sign of the designated airline. And in case that it's not an airline, you can say the letters one by one. And about the numbers, they are always spelled one by one, except in the triple repetition. In that case, you say 111, for example. How do you spell the VORs? The VORs are very important, because they are usually the fixes where the planes are arriving. So you have two ways. But the VORs, they have this extractor, which is 3 letters. So you can do either spell it by the name of the ball, for example, Tango Romeo Papa. The name of this is Trapo. The name for this one is Doric. The name for this one is Hasselblad. And the name for this one is Servet. Therefore, you don't need to say Tango Romeo Papa. If you know the name of the VOR, you can say Trapo. You can say Doric, Hasselblad, Servet. Or you can do the second way, which is letter by letter. So both are correct, because not everybody is going to know the name of the VOR. So the people who know the name of the VOR, they can spell it by the name. The people who don't know it, they can say Tango Romeo Papa, Delta Oscar Romeo, Hotel Alpha Zulu, and Sierra Echo Tango. And for the fixes, which are the ones that planes are flying to when they are departing in Endless ATC, they have a structure of 5 letters. And literally the way that you spell them is by the name. Umlaut, Kenneth, Comte, Goxi, Gasco. That's how you spell it. You just read the name. But in case that there is a misunderstanding, you can also spell them letter by letter. But the best practice is just to say the whole name. This is very important. When traffic are contacting you and you have a crowded airspace, you need to identify the aircraft that is contacting you. So for the partners, this is the procedure that it helps me more. Usually they say first the call sign, then they say the airport of origin, if it's relevant. For example, if they come from the main airport, they won't say where they are coming from. But if they come from a secondary airport, they will say from Gatwick, from Luton, from London City. Alright? So when they come from Heathrow, they won't really say it, because it's understood that usually they come from Heathrow. Then the authorized flight level, which is from Heathrow, is going to be climbing to flight level 060. If it's from Gatwick, they will say climbing to flight level 050. And then they will say the SID, the standard instrument departure. And they will say flying to Comte, or they will say Comte departure. Alright? So if we say everything, the traffic is going to say Speedbird 257 from Gatwick, climbing to flight level 050, come departure. Alright? So if you see this, approach Speedbird 1234 from Gatwick, climbing to flight level 50 or 050 on the Tiger departure, then you know that this traffic is coming from here. As you can see, this is the designator of Speedbird, which is British Airways, and 1234, climbing to 5,000 feet, Tiger departure. You know that this traffic is coming here. This is how you identify aircraft. If you see this other example, hello approach, Golf Bravo 576 Sierra, climbing to flight level 60, come departure. So you know that it's coming from Heathrow, because it didn't say the airport of departure. You know that it's coming to 6,000 feet, so 060, and you know that it's coming to Compt, so it's coming here, right? Golf Bravo 576 Sierra. Alright? So how to identify arrivals? So it's mostly the same procedure. They will say the call sign, they will say the airport of destination if it's relevant, they will say the authorized flight level, descending to flight level XXX, and they will say the VOR inbound, because usually the arrivals they go to a VOR. So in this case, they say approach American 137 Alpha, descending to flight level 90, inbound Brown November. Inbound Brown November, that means here. American 139 Alpha, descending to 90. So because I already recognize the patterns of arrivals, I can understand that it's mostly here. It's going to be mostly here. But it can be also that the traffic is coming from here. Alright? Which one do you think it is? If you already analyze the arrival tendencies, you will notice that the arrivals to Heathrow from the south, they go usually towards Oakham. So you can do a process of elimination, and you can determine that the traffic is in fact this one. As you can see, these are the standard procedures that you have optimized. Therefore, this is going to be the traffic. American Airlines 139 Alpha, descending to 090, inbound Brown November. This same situation. Approach Scandinavian 2675, descending to flight level 90, inbound Lambert. If I already analyzed the arrivals to Lambert, I can notice that they come from this side. Because it didn't say any secondary airport, I will assume that it's coming to Heathrow, therefore it's going to appear here. So there are other readbacks that you need to be aware of. For example, when changing direction, you won't say it yourself, but they will read it back. They will say turn left or turn right, heading 050, 240, 360, 010, whatever. You need to pay attention. Fly direct somewhere. It's a VOR usually. Fly direct Brown November. Fly direct Lambert. Fly direct Oakham. They will say this. If you give a conditional where they need to fly towards one VOR and then to fly a heading, they will say fly direct Brown November, then fly heading 100, for example. That's what you need to pay attention to. When changing the level, they will usually respond with climb flight level XXX, climb flight level 050, climb flight level 140, or descend flight level 030. When you're giving the instruction to do the climb faster, or to do the descent faster, they will say expedite descent to flight level 030. So that's what you need to pay attention to. And especially when changing the speed, they will say increase or decrease speed to, for example, 250 knots. Or for example, when traffics are departing and you authorize them to have a greater than 250 knots below flight level 100, because there is a rule in aviation that traffics that are below flight level 100, the maximum speed that they can fly at is at the indicated airspeed of 250. Go to the elementary level to learn about the different speeds. So when this happens, they will say high speed approved, just to let you know that they have a knowledge that they are authorized for high speed. So this is all for the advanced level. Now I'm going to show you the demo. If you really enjoyed the video and you really want to know more, just hit the like button because it will help me a lot. And when I see that you guys like it, I'm going to continue uploading videos. Probably I'm not going to teach more about the concepts and how to do the sequences, but I will upload challenges. I will upload different scenarios, different amounts of traffic. So hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I will be posting more videos like this. Welcome to the practical version of this advanced level. As you can see here, I'm in London airspace. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the configuration that I want for this session. In this case, what I recommend you is to put this session, but of course you can try the configuration you want. So in my case, I will go to runway change and I will set it as arrivals 27 left, departures 27 right. After that, I will go to traffic and I will go to custom, skill 9, so I have one arrival runway for each airport, and then I go to flow, and as you could see before, I recommended you from 50 to 60 movement per hour, but again, that's up to you. What I will do is I will put 55, and during the rest of the session, what I will do, I will obviously not be able to talk and do the session at the same time because it's going to get overloaded very quickly. So what I suggest is just to pay attention to the things that I do, to try to see the logic behind that movement, the logic behind that extraction, and if you could learn something from it, I would be very pleased. So if you like the video, really hit the like button. For me it's very important because it helps YouTube to know that you like the video. And just to let you know that after this session and after this course, because this is the last installment, I will be doing challenges, traffic challenges. Remember the hashtag from chaos to order. So if you hit the like button and this video gets at least 300 views, I'm going to start making challenges. So let's start.